in. Yep, here we go. Right. Here we go. Right, okay. Right. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Yeah, I can see you. I'm a little bit... I can see myself. I'm a little bit...
Pixelated.
Pixelated.
You are a little.
I think it's probably... It must be the Wi-Fi.
Oh, no.
I'll probably come back in a minute, though. So that's a little bit better.
Oh, that's much better. Oh, good job. Great. Just in time for being live.
Yes, thank you. I think that's... So, good evening to you all, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jonathan Waterman. I'm an award-winning wedding and events Toastmaster, coordinator, a planner, celebrant, auctioneer, consultant, booking agent, and more. I'm delighted to be interviewing exclusive wedding events professional photographer, Stephanie Cronin. I have known and worked with Stephanie for many, many years, and she is very passionate about what she does. She works with her clients from day one and works her magic on the day. She will always deliver a wonderful and meaningful portfolio of photos to her clients. Here is a little about Stephanie. Our business is here to create beautiful, vibrant images for you to enjoy for years to come. We specialise in business photography, photography education, and weddings. No matter if you are in front of our customers or learning to use your own, we help create a relaxed environment that makes you feel valued and supported. Summers Photography is a Berkshire-based, award-winning lifestyle photographic company. Established in 2002, it is headed by Stephanie and Steve, a husband and wife team. Stephanie started her photography career in photojournalism in Scotland and progressed to family studio shoots, weddings, events, and taught hundreds of students photography in further education. Steve joined Stephanie photographing weddings and commercial clients in 2007 and have worked together ever since as husband and wife. She would like you to feel free to follow her on social media, which is Summers Photography, SUMMERS, and her website is www.summers-photography.co.uk. I really am honoured that Stephanie is happy to be interviewed by me. Following this interview, you will have the chance, shall I say, to ask both Stephanie and myself some questions. However, what I would like to do before we actually start the interview, we've had 35,000 deaths now with the COVID-19 crisis. It's terrible, and we're all hoping that they're all resting in peace. It's been terrible for our country and for the world, really, for the amount of people who have actually been lost. So can we all close our eyes for 1 minute in respect of those people that were unfortunately have been lost? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much, ladies and gents, for actually taking the time to pay respects to those that we've lost during this terrible crisis. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to kick off with the interview. So, Stephanie, a very good evening to you.
Evening, Jonathan. It's great to be here. Thank you.
And it's actually a pleasure to have you. How are you?
Really well, thanks. All things considering. How are you doing?
Yes, very, very well, thank you. Like you said, just bearing up. We're having to follow the rules of the COVID-19 here, but being under lockdown, so to speak, and we're all hoping that hospitality will kick off very soon again.
Here's hoping.
So, ladies and gentlemen, a question number one going over to Stephanie here is, first of all, Stephanie, can I ask you to please reiterate and tell people who you are and what you do and you did prior, please?
Of course. So, evening, everyone. I hope you're well. Watching along with this live and catching up. My name is Stephanie Cronin from photography, and I am a wedding photographer that I run summer photography with my husband Steve. We have been photographing weddings for over a decade now. I'm proud to be recommended photographer at a number of wedding venues across the Southeast. I've always been in the photography realms. So ever since I left school, I moved on to work in photography studios and developing stores for developing film all those years ago. And then I actually went on to become a lecturer, a teacher in a couple of different hub spots. You're teaching customer service randomly, but then that progressed on to teaching photography. So those kind of loves have come back into teaching photography to beginners and to small business owners, and still run the weddings on the side when we're not in a lockdown. So I've been in a photography career for 18 years now.
Wow. So I mean it's fantastic. So I mean what you've done is basically you've gone through life, you've tried things out. You've been developing films, you've been a lecturer, you've been in customer service, and all of a sudden you've found your niche in photography. How comes? How comes the photography is your niche so much?
So it runs quite deep, really. My dad was a photojournalist for a newspaper in Scotland. My grandfather was also in the media, and cameras have always been around in my family. I am fairly creative in that sense as well. I love art and music and English in school, and it's really quite just great to see that photography I develop. I won my first photography competition in 2000, year 2000, so 18 years back as well. 20 years back, almost 2 years now, and it's just been great to see it develop in that thing.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely a fantastic thing. I mean, I guess from the older days, we can look back and we can look at the small Kodak cameras where you took the film out and you had to take it in to be developed and everything. It's just amazing how things have evolved, haven't they?
Absolutely. Gone are the days that you had only 24 pictures that you could take, and then you had to wait a week for them to come back with your little 6x4-inch pictures. That 20 of them might be underexposed and too dark, and 4 were just right. So those days are long behind us now.
Yeah, no, that's right. Because I remember as it evolved, we then came into Polaroid. They came out and they, an instant photo. I mean that. Did you ever use a Polaroid camera at all in your?
Loved Polaroid cameras, loved them. I had one of the original ones, or the second time they came around in the 90s. Film was so expensive for them, and you could only get about 5 to 10 pictures on them. But they're coming into revival again. It's so great to see them being popular now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned obviously, which I know you're a professional photographer in various different capacities. Do you want to just tell us in detail the types of photography you do and the style, really?
Sure. So we specialize in photography education, so teaching photography courses, business photography, so working with small businesses like yourself, Jonathan, or other wedding suppliers to photograph them as service providers and the weddings. So we are very vibrant, we are full of colour, lots of contrast, a little bit of compromise between a modern and a traditional approach. We for a wedding photography, for example, we do like the off-the-cuff documentary style, those kind of first glances and smiles at each other. But then we do like the traditional groups as well, because those group photographs are so key, and it really is a lasting legacy for all of our couples.
Yeah, well, which is great. I mean, is reportage more popular, would you say?
It really depends on the couple itself. So there's those couples that adore just that documentary reportage style, fly on the wall. They don't really want to do the whole posy things. And then there's the opposite end where couples really just want to have that lovely traditional pose group style and portrait. So we're very much in the middle. We do a little bit from column A and column B.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I mean, at the most, after you've done your service, the wedding or whatever you're doing, it's been complete. Do many clients actually go for the album situation, or do they more go on the memory stick and they do what they wish with their photos?
Sure. So we're in that generation of no film anymore. So they're all digital images, and we want to hand over something tangible to our clients. And I think that's when you are more of a mid-range to luxury budget. You don't just want to be providing images on a website or a Dropbox. It's not very professional. So we provide a shoebox sized box of images and prints on mounts with a USB that's all personalized in their colors for the wedding day, and that has all of their wedding images on there. So that's included in all of our packages. That's very much our digital package, and then clients can choose to purchase one of our beautiful acrylic albums. They're all handcrafted and designed in store or in our studio, and they're really, really great. But a lot of modern couples prefer the USB approach, so they've got some mounts they can pop in their homes, but certainly it really depends again on that demographic and the type of couple that we're working with.
Yeah, no, I like what you actually said, and I'm with you on that. I think, you're doing a very, very good job for the couple, and to actually mention, because you're very, very exclusive, to mention, a nice album would be beneficial, which it would be, because it keeps exclusivity, doesn't it?
It does. Exactly, and it sets you apart from other budget photographers, and all photographers have their place. All service industries have their place, but certainly we want to set ourselves apart from that budget end by giving a real luxury product over to our deserving couples.
Yeah, no, well, that's a good thing, to be honest. If I can kindly ask you though, what types of weddings and events have you catered for, and do you have a most challenging type at all?
Challenging? Oh, that's a hard question. I wouldn't say we have any challenging ones. We've photographed hundreds of weddings now. We're well over the 200 mark, so we're very well versed in wedding dramas, for want of a better word, for poor weather in the middle of July and issues with different things happening. I once had a wedding where the DJ didn't turn up, so we used my iPhone on Spotify, plugged it into some speakers, and away we go. So Steve and I are both very level-headed and very experienced that we're very good at fighting fires. So I don't think challenges, we're pretty well versed with those ones. Types of weddings, we've photographed everything and anything. So we've had the 5 guests right up to the 500 guest events.
That's great. I take it you've pictured a number of different races, religions, etc. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
So yeah, no, that's brilliant. So have you done? I mean, how have you found out? Have you done Afro-Caribbean weddings, for example?
We had a wild time. We actually had an Afro-Caribbean wedding at Pinewood Studios, and that was just dancing and laughter and music all day. It was just such an inspiring, wonderful wedding to be a part of.
No, this is brilliant. I mean, do you find that their style is very different to the typical English wedding?
In terms of what they're looking for from photographs, not particularly. Our style is who we are. We can't photograph any differently. That is very much who we are as our style, and we don't want to change our style for different types of events. And our couples, depending on any race, religion, culture, choose us for who we are as photographers, but then also the style that we portray. And we've got hundreds of, if not thousands of images on our website and real life wedding blogs and videos that all our couples can see the style. And if it's to their liking and taste, then great.
Yeah, I mean, what you said is right. Basically, just kind of reiterating and kind of putting it to you. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. That people buy into people. So basically, if people like your style, they like you. They like the value you're going to bring and the solution you're going to provide for them. They'll buy into you.
100%. I think, Jonathan, for your type of service and our type of service, we're the only service providers on a wedding day that are with that couple from the minute they're getting ready until they're dancing and partying their socks off in the evening. Your florists and cake makers and food suppliers, they all drop, and then they're there for maybe an hour. So when it comes to our type of service, we need to be so personable and likable, and it's a know and like trust for us to be able to get on with our couples and them to be able to come to us for support.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right. You know, it's. I mean, the thing is, if you portray a brand that you're going to potentially do this, and this is what you're going to provide, the kind of service you're going to give, and if you don't deliver, your brand will be tarnished very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to stick to your brand values, and our brand values are being true to who we are. And very much that's our ethos is upfront and honest and great customer service. And that's what we pride ourselves on, and that's why we're still in this industry 18 years later.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, it does go to show, actually. I mean, having worked with you, I can understand why that you are. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I've worked with you. You're very likable. You're very professional. You know what you're doing, and you're very good team players. And that is what the industry needs. You know, where everyone can work with everybody. I feel that is such a vital ingredient. The team.
Yeah, because if you're not on the same page with each other, then that's where the challenges come into it, right? If I'm taking the couple away for 20 minutes, but you're due to be sitting them down for their meal, shortly after that 20 minutes, if you're not talking to each other as like a team player, that's where you come into it.
Well, no, that's absolutely right. It is teamwork. I mean, going back to obviously photography, you've mentioned your styles and the way you work and everything. Do you take many couples out on pre-shoots prior to the wedding, and what sort of places you take them?
It really depends on the type of year. So we do a lot of pre-wedding engagement shoots, and that's something that we're slowly getting back into now. So for all of those early spring engagements, we'll be able to start picking up the camera now. That we're kind of out of lockdown or slowly getting out of it. It's really important to have those experiences before your wedding, because somebody walking around with a camera in front of their face all day can be quite unnerving. How we with our couples is that you put the cameras down and we have a conversation eye to eye, and just really kind of coach them and talk them through what we're doing and our plans for the day, and that really comes back to when we do the engagement shoots. So the pre-wed shoots are great for alleviating fears if they're concerned about being photographed, if they've never had a professional shoot before. It's so much fun, and normally ends up in going to the pub. So you can't really get much better than that, really, can you?
I think that's good, and a sign that you've got a really good rapport with a client. Yeah. I mean, that is fabulous, to be honest with you. You've explained that, and I mean that's a really good thing. Well, good point you've actually mentioned there. If I could just move on now and just kindly ask you, where does all of your passion actually come from, and really what makes you tick?
That's a good question as well. You're filling the good questions tonight, Jonathan. Where does that passion come from? Like I said earlier, I am a creative. I love picking up my camera and creating pictures for legacy images for our couples, for beautiful family photographs, or for businesses to help sell their business more. And I love that creativity and those light bulb moments that when we're teaching photography, that our clients are really starting to see the pieces come together. I've always been into photography, even since school. I was a kid that wanted to do photography as the Scottish equivalent of a GCSE, and never got that opportunity. So that was my drive to really learn. There's just something quite wholesome and quite mindful of when you're photographing with your smartphone or with a DSLR. Just gonna get lost in that place. It's a really lovely hobby to have.
No, definitely. Just going back to photography, just going to the wedding day. I mean, I hear this from a lot of photographers, and I'd love to hear your take on it. You're probably going to laugh when I tell you this. Do you come across with much red tape at the churches or at the place of worship with the priests or anyone in relation to photography?
Yes, we do, but we don't find out on the day of the wedding because that's incredibly unprofessional and it shows that you haven't done your homework. So we have a month prior meeting, wedding planning meeting with our couples. We do that via Zoom if they're out of the area, or we meet for a coffee or for a drink. We're big on socialising with our couples. And that's one of the very primary questions that we ask our couples, is to have that conversation with your place of worship to see what their rules are. Now, there's a lot of different styles of photographers that will either stand rooted like statues and don't move in a place of worship, and there's other photographers that will roam around, use flash, and it's really quite distracting for your guests. And sadly, they're the ones that give real professional photographers a bit of a bad name. So what we do is we make contact with the churches or places of worship beforehand and explain that we are a husband and wife team. Steve stands at the back of the church with a telephoto lens, and I'm at the front of the church, and we do not move in the slightest, because it's not about the photography, it's about the couple saying their vows. And that's a big professional no-no to be running up and down an aisle.
That is really good what you've said, that it is all about the couple. You're telling the couple's story, basically. You're telling their story, and the good thing is what you've preempted the problem you could have at the church with the priest, maybe. So obviously you've done everything you can to fine-tune your side of things, which is very, very, very good. That's a very professional way of doing things, to be honest with you. I mean, having discussed just the next question here, having discussed obviously still in the wedding event side of things, you said you've done weddings, you've done events, that type of thing. Can I just kindly ask you, is there are there other particular markets you would like to explore further, and for what reason?
Is there a photography genre that I can go on holiday and photograph abroad? That would be quite nice. I think I joke, but that's a lovely thing to be able to get into. We would love to explore destination weddings a little bit more. We've done a couple in the past and thoroughly enjoyed them. It's a completely different market to break into. But there's some stunning chateaus in France and water mills and castles in Italy and Switzerland that we would love to photograph in. I think it's just a little bit different. It's a lovely way for the couple to get married as well. There's a bit more calm feeling of being on holiday, but saying your vows as well. It's a lovely thing.
Yeah, I mean, destination weddings is I hear this a lot from photographers, that they would like to kind of explore the market, see the world, and picture in different styles in different countries. But I've heard there are various challenges involved in it, obviously. Have you heard? I mean, can you explain in the challenges you may have heard about this, or is it a challenge? Is the whole thing a challenge to? I mean, obviously, to go out, you fly out, you deal with a couple. I mean, logistics-wise, could that be a challenge?
I think logistics-wise, massively. We worked with one supplier that flew out, and we were second shooting with an amazing other photographer. And this other company that we worked with, one of their bags had been delayed and lost on the flight coming over. It was a vital piece of kit. They managed to get it sorted. Luckily, we were out there a couple of days beforehand. But it was all sorted. But that could have been a crisis. And logistics like those, when you are traveling to a foreign country rather than 20 minutes down the road on the motorway, obviously they have their pros and cons. But that's their kind of issues and pointers to be discussed with a couple. But certainly in terms of the logistics of once you're there, with Italy, for example, there's lots of rules and steps that need to be built into when you're planning a wedding out there, like there are here really with the bands and giving notice. So yeah, they have their pros, and obviously they have their cons, as does everything in life, really.
No, absolutely. Thank you obviously for clearing up that point, which is great. If I can just kindly ask you now, obviously been in the business for a long time. You've seen obviously a lot of weddings, you've seen a lot of events. Is there any that particularly stands out for you, and for what reason?
Oh my goodness, that's like choosing one of your favorite children, isn't it? I think I think where we work together at a few different weddings, Jonathan, they've been great because again, it's that teamwork, isn't it? Oh my goodness, everything that springs to mind. So we've had some fantastic weddings, like really amazing, fun marquees in the middle of a field with fish and chip vans turning up and ice cream trucks, right up to like the highest luxury venues up in London. We're recommending, like I said earlier, a significant number of weddings in the southeast. So they're some of our favourite wedding venues for the venue itself and how picturesque it is, but for the team as well. I would have to say, oh gosh, I can't pick one of them. How bad is that? I love them all.
No, that's okay. You've you've elaborated on your thoughts, and obviously there's been, everywhere. Most weddings have been good. You've done your marquees, you've seen your fish and chip vans at weddings, all different things, and that's good that you've had exposure to every type. You can't pick out a particular one because you've had some good experiences, which is fair enough, and that's really good. Moving on to another question now. Can I ask you, do you promote your business a lot on social media? And which platforms do you use and for what reason?
I do. So we have pretty much an account on every social media going, apart from TikTok, because I don't really understand that, if I'm honest. So I'll leave that to the real youngsters. But predominantly, the two that we use are Facebook and Instagram because they're very visual platforms. Twitter, we don't really use. It's not really for, I personally don't feel it's where couples find out for weddings. So our presence on social media is for Facebook and Instagram. So Instagram we use a bit more of a kind of portfolio. There's lots of about us images, lots of behind the scenes style of pictures. On Facebook, we take it a little bit of a different approach, and we do kind of case studies on our weddings and tips on Facebook about different flowers that they can have or different styles of cakes or working with Toastmasters. And we have lots of events on Facebook and lots of behind the scene videos like this. So we treat the platforms quite differently, but they have very different type of audience as well.
No, that's right. Exactly. That's the gist of it. As you say, very, very, very visual on Instagram, on Facebook, again, very visual. You've got your groups, you can go into different groups, you can promote yourself on different groups. It's, and you can tag people in very, very easy. You can tag businesses in and everything. So, yes, it is. I agree with you on both of those. And in Instagram, with your story, your story, and obviously you can promote from your story. It's very, very, very good. I mean, how about the likes of LinkedIn and Pinterest? Have you done much with them?
So again, we have fairly good success on Pinterest. We've got in the high thousands of people on views on Pinterest. What we tend to use Pinterest is almost like a portfolio again, but it's more giving people ideas. So we'll have different venues, we'll have them as boards, as the name of the venue, and then we'll upload all of our pictures from those weddings. But then we'll also have the style of wedding. So if we've got more of a vintage feel or a shabby chic wedding, then we'll pop those style images in there. Whereas more kind of luxury and fine dining imagery will go into the separate album. So it's a really great resource for wedding planning, and I encourage all of our couples to use Pinterest, but also use it with caution. So with those lovely images on kind of Californian beaches, you're not going to get the same style in England as those kind of images. So it's really being, I guess, aware of the limitations of what you can have from America versus to what's here.
Yeah, I mean that is an absolute exact fact, because you've got the likes of America, you've got India, other places where the weather might be better, where they have different types of decor. And they're kind of expressing that decor schemes within obviously the setting. And so I can totally go with that, what you've just said. Just moving on next, just a few more questions for you. If I can kind of ask you, now this is a question where it comes up quite a lot within the industry. Do you believe the market is very price orientated, or do you believe people are actually looking for quality, uniqueness, and maybe something different?
So I believe that, let's say, budget, mid-range, and higher end weddings. I think people are looking for very much different things in each of those tiers. And like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about packages, there's room for everybody in each of those tiers. So I believe most people will look for quality when they're hiring a budget photographer right up to a luxury photographer, because you want to have the best possible record of your day. But it really comes down to those couples that feel passionate about photography and know that that's very high on their bucket list of items the suppliers to have on the day of their wedding. Whereas other couples might not have photography as one of the higher agenda and one that they feel very passionate about. They might be more interested in food and like the cake and the style of the wedding. Most of our couples are very keen about photography, and I will get lists and lists of different photograph ideas of things that we would naturally cover anyway. So our couples are looking for super quality, a beautiful style, long-lasting images, a legacy. They want it for a price that's affordable and affordable for them. So what one person's affordability might be out of range for somebody else. It depends on that group.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. I mean, it depends on their pecking list, you know. As I say, they could have one couple could have a photographer at the top, another photographer at the bottom. It just kind of depends what's important to them, you know. And you know, that's good, and that's obviously a very, very good thing. Now, if I can ask you though, I mean, how would you differentiate yourself to other photographers? What's your USP, so to speak?
USB, you get two photographers, a husband and wife team that work really well together, if I don't mind saying so myself. Years of experience and dealing with all sorts of drama related issues at weddings. A beautiful style. We don't oversaturate, we don't over edit our images. They're all beautifully edited and they're long lasting, and a lot of photographers these days are adding lots of like funky styles to their editing process, or if you think back, Jonathan, to maybe 8 years ago, that lots of couples had that black, white and pop of color in their pictures. It really dates the images. Our images are really long lasting. We don't add any funny editing techniques to them, so that you'll be able to look at them in 20 years time and they'll look as fresh as they did back in 2020. So that's very much our unique selling point, and where we're just so passionate about giving the best service to our couples.
So, I mean, fantastic what you said. But if I can ask you though, on your wedding clients, out of a percentage of 100, what percentage would you say actually take albums from you?
Oh, it's changed. It has definitely changed in more recent years. Even though I would say I'm more in love with our albums and products now than what we were possibly 10, 15 years ago, I would say that it was more of an in thing a decade ago, and now people are more about the digital product. Whereas if we were to ask any of our couples that they still have a VHS video player in their house, they're probably going to say no. So that's why we encourage our couples to have them. But percentage-wise, probably about 40% albums, 60% are happy not to, or they'll come back later and purchase after the wedding.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that little insight. Thank you. So just moving on a bit more now. Can I just ask you, Stephanie, please, how has COVID-19 had an impact on your business? How has it impacted you personally as Summers Photography?
So when the news hit in March, I think the whole industry went down into panic mode, and we were all fairly starstruck and not in a good way of what was going on. Nobody really knew what was going on, so we all had to really make the best decision for our business. Regardless of what everybody else was doing, you have to do what's right for you. And at that time, after watching countless news updates, we were fairly quick to take action. I sat down in this exact spot and filmed a few videos to send out to our current wedding clients, one for pre-June and one for post-June, just with some thoughts and suggestions. Thankfully, we haven't had any cancellations. All our couples who came to us first asking what our availability is, and given them a whole heap of selection of dates. and we've managed to rebook every single one of them into next year. So we are thrilled with that. It could have been very different if couples were wanting refunds or were wanting to cancel their weddings completely. I think that's just so heartbreaking that couples have had to cancel weddings rather than postpone. And I think postponing your wedding is something still to look forward to in 2021 or later on this year if you've gone for a more winter wedding. So it has had a massive detrimental effect to our business. Our couples have all been incredibly supportive and working with us and us with them. However, you have to take action in these situations, and we didn't really take action for a couple of weeks in terms of what else we could do for our business. But we've developed new photography courses to add to the library of courses we already have. We're doing online shoots with our clients, and now we've built those relationships, and now those couples and businesses are wanting to book us for shoots. So it's been a roller coaster, that I will say, John.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing, really. I mean, it sounds like you've handled it very, very, very well. You're lucky you haven't had the cancellations, which is good. You've managed to place everybody nicely, which is good, and you stayed in touch with your clients, which is a great thing. All credit to you there. So just asking you, just two more questions now. A big thing that's come up in the industry, I mean, we've discussed this ourselves in the past, is whether about clients taking wedding and events insurance. Now, the figures actually stated that only 30% of people took wedding insurance, unfortunately, and 70% never. Now, what is your take on wedding and events insurance? What are your feelings about it?
It should be taken out. A lot of the companies like John Lewis were doing fairly cost-appropriate insurances. And when you're spending significant amount of money on a wedding or an event, it's just nice to have that reassurance in the back of your mind that you've got that there as a backup. However, Jonathan, do you know if those insurance companies have reopened for bookings for future years? I'm not too sure if I read if John Lewis or anything have reopened.
Well, the situation is basically if people would have, say, booked 6 to 12 months ago, for example, let's start with this way, certain clients would have been covered through various insurance companies for pandemics. They had the indemnities. Now there's no indemnity at all for any wedding and event insurance in relation to COVID-19. So you couldn't go out now and get wedding and event insurance cover for COVID-19. I'm hearing a lot's been put on hold with the major insurance companies in relation to wedding and event insurance. I haven't heard of any updates as to cover actually being started up again. But it's as you said, it is an essential thing. And it's something, you should always be on the radar. You should always look at it as a priority in terms of, you get your venue coverage. Somebody may have unfortunately died in the family, a venue going into liquidation. So there's a lot of things there to bear in mind, because the cost is quite high. Would you agree with that, Steph?
I would actually, Jonathan, yes, because I think that it's reassurance and peace of mind. And if you were to, the week before COVID lockdown, it was my birthday week, and we were attending a really large wedding fair. And having stood there for the whole day and the amount of wedding couples we saw, you would never have thought, if somebody came up to us and said, this time next week, all weddings will be postponed or cancelled, no more events, we'll all be on lockdown, I would have laughed and said, no, you're making it up. Because it sounded so far-fetched and like a film that we weren't allowed to leave our houses and that there was 40,000 deaths happening in the UK. It did not sound right that there was this worldwide epidemic happening. From then, yes, we've always encouraged our couples to take insurance out. It's not with us, we're not affiliated with any of them, but it's something that's there as a back of their mind. And the grand scheme cost of weddings, purchasing wedding insurance doesn't really make that much of a difference in the grand scheme of their costs.
Yeah, no, there's something you've just brought up, which I should have covered with you earlier, but you just kind of given me a prompt to actually ask you the question. is what's your take on wedding fairs? Is it something that you do quite well out of, or is it there just, you know, for marketing and promotion, for networking?
We do fairly well at them because we, like I said earlier, we are a personable service, and we don't do the hard sale at weddings. It's pure wedding fairs. It's purely building relationships and seeing this is what you could have on your wedding day. We have a whole table and a book stand of wedding albums, so people can couples can come and peruse and see what their our style is like, and have the opportunity to speak to Steve and I. How we lead the conversation with our couples at wedding fairs, and any suppliers that are on here, please feel free to pinch this idea, is that we suggest to our couples, if you could imagine going for a gin and tonic with us, we are the wedding tablers for you. And we're such a personable service, and the same for yourself, Jonathan, is that we have to be able to see on the same page with our couples, and then them for us as well. If somebody doesn't quite gel, we probably aren't the photographers for you. I'm really happy to say that, because there's plenty of other photographers or Toastmasters or whoever out there to take on that wedding.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I mean, I think that's absolutely well said. So basically, getting to near the close now. Can I just ask you, how do you see the future of the wedding and events industry? What's your take on it?
I really don't know. That's probably one of the very short answers. I really don't know. I read in the newspapers tabloids at the weekend that we may be going into weddings in July, that we can have that kind of, the ban has been lifted, and we might be able to have 10-person weddings. And I don't know how that's going to fit alongside a wedding venue that should have had 150 covers that day. How is it going to equate for a 10-person wedding now? How will that equate for photographers? How will it equate for a cake that was a 6-tier stunning piece of art? How will you need 6 tiers of cake for 10 guests now? So it's really, I really don't know how it's going to all affect and change over the next couple of weeks, if not months. And again, if we look back historically, we would never have been able to imagine that our busy time period of June, July, August, we would be at home at the weekends. That's not happened in years.
No.
So it's a really funny one. I really hope that this time next year will be well back to normal.
I mean, when do you actually feel, if you had to take a punt on it yourself, when do you actually feel that weddings will resume back to full capacity?
From hearsay and what I've read online and really thinking about it, not until there's a vaccination that's currently that will be coming out. I think that's going to be roughly one of the times that we can get back to this normal that we used to have at our amazing weddings. When that's going to be is your guess is as good as mine, Jonathan. I'm guessing next year, a year down the line. Will we be able to still hug our clients and see our clients hug their families and friends at weddings? It's really quite sad that it could change that element. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it will return to what we all know and love as our weddings, and see and celebrate that day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we can all. That's what we all hope will happen. You know, you've given your take on it, and you know, I'm sort of feel the same. I would like to feel and be optimistic it's going to happen sooner rather than later by the end of this year, but we just don't know. We can only just kind of sit on the fence and then just pray for good things.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the final question to you, Steph. Obviously, you've answered the questions really very, very nicely. The audience have enjoyed it, listening to you. Can I ask you, how would you like to close on this?
Oh, that's a really good question. Just thank you for your time. It's been really great to chat this evening. What a great way to spend a rainy Wednesday afternoon or evening. I hope that this wedding suppliers that are listening this evening, that it's been inspirational. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out on Instagram or Facebook, Summers Photography UK. Also, we've got a competition running to win a personal brand photo shoot for small business owners to help you become more visible in your business. So you can find that on Facebook as well. But just final comments, just keep well and stay safe, and hope we'll be able to work with you at an amazing wedding soon.
Yeah. Well, Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, look, thank you very much, Stephanie, for closing there. So I would like to just say a very big thank you to all of our viewers this evening, and a very, very big thank you to Stephanie for taking the time to be interviewed. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Keep well and stay safe. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again. Thank you. Okay. Right.